if someone wrote your life story, what would it be called?
Ooh, what would it be called? Like that Beatles song, Here, There, and Everywhere.
Oh,
Here,
cool.
there, and everywhere.
You know, okay, fine, I'll go with Here, There, and Everywhere. I think sometimes we have the ability, and I know I have the ability to focus on something, and while I'm doing it, I'm starting to think of other things too. So like, for example, being on tour, you know, when I've been on tour with Drake, we'll be on the bus or we'll be even flying somewhere, and during that little bit of downtime where we're just kind of, you know, maybe people are just waking up or we're just driving somewhere, I'll try to work on something that I know will maybe have some fruit later, you know, so whether it's a photograph that we use later, I mean, that would be a good example, right? Like, all those photos that keep popping up on Drake's page, like the one of him, like, with the blue bar background, or like the ones from rehearsal.
Yeah.
Like, I just, you know, we're doing something, but my mind is thinking about the future, and I'm like, you know what? It'd be really cool to get some great photographs of Drake having fun and doing all this stuff. So, like, I gotta take a picture, and then if we use it later, great, because I was able to, like, quickly do that. So, and I think I've learned that probably from, you know, other people who have forward-thinking ideas. But yeah, I'd say here, there, and everywhere.
Definitely.
Because when you're there, and then when you're there, and then sometimes it gets into everywhere.
What type? I know this isn't a question, but I just think you are really great at taking pictures, photos. And what type of equipment? Is it just a standard? Because it looks amazing. You look like a proper pro when you take a picture.
That's very sweet of you. I used to have a Canon 7D. That was the camera that I used like pretty exclusively. Especially, I had that right when I met Drake, and for the first 3 or 4 tours, I took that camera everywhere. But the problem with it was a little bit big.
Yeah.
And not even just from like a weight standpoint, it was just like when you're taking somebody's picture and you've got this big camera right in their face, it feels a little intimidating.
Yeah.
So I did some research, and this year, Fuji came out with this camera called the X100S.
Right.
It is an awesome camera. It looks like an old school 35 millimeter film camera.
Oh, cool.
But it's actually got really great internal components, great lens, big processor, good sensor. So I've been taking that with me for the last 2 months, 3 months, and I've already taken, I think it was, the last time I looked, it was 10,800 photos or something like that.
Yeah.
So I've really been racking them up. But yeah, during rehearsal, I was just shooting like mad, just as much as I was playing. You know, in between things.
It's amazing.
I love.
Yeah, your pictures are. I always like to look at them because they're amazing.
We took some of during. I took a couple of Drake and the band during the sound check that I'm really happy with. They came out pretty good.
Yeah,
so.
they're amazing. Yeah, I mean, I've looked at, you know, obviously doing the fan site for him and my site and everything. I see lots of pictures, professional and unprofessional, and yours is up there with some of the great photo shoots. So I think, you know, you're very talented at that as well. So you're just talented at everything.
I'm gonna owe you $20 each at least for all these.
You can treat us when you're in London.
Absolutely.
Well, I think this question is from another family member of yours, and I find this one pretty funny. But he wants to know, well, he asked, tell us about your first kiss.
Oh, God. Okay, I remember pretty clearly. I think I was 13 or 14.
Yeah.
Maybe 14. I was 14 years old, and there was this girl at camp, overnight camp, who I thought was cute. And I remember, like, she and I had danced or something the year before. So she and I were, like, talking by her cabin or something like that, and we kissed. And it was the fastest kiss in the world because I was pretty excited to go back and tell my bunkmates what had happened. So, yeah, it was pretty quick. But also I remember one of us had braces. I can't remember if it was me or her, so yeah, it wasn't really that quick.
I don't imagine you were braces.
But I remember half the fun of the kiss was, I gotta tell the guys.
Yeah.
And then
That's normal.
Good question.
Yeah. Well, if you want to know, I have the name who asked me that question. I'm not sure, but Matt Olson.
oh, Matt. He's quite a guy. Yeah, he's my brother-in-law. He's
Yeah.
actually funny. They just, uh, they just had this cute little kid. His name is Henry,
Aw.
and I went
Yeah,
to them when he was.
I think I remember you putting on Facebook that they had a kid or something.
Yeah, sweetest kid looking. And I tease Heather because the kid actually, when I was a baby,
Yeah.
I looked just like this little boy. So I was telling her, I'm like, what is it like having me as a kid? And she's like, it's scary. That's all she said.
Awesome.
Maybe he can
That's
turn into
wonderful at the same
the
time.
new fat emperor.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, I've got to groom him. I can tell him all the tips.
You should.
Yeah,
My
you
poor
should.
sister, my poor sister can never escape the role.
How would your friends describe you in 3 words?
I think my friends would describe me as, depends on which friend. I've got a friend, my friend Mike, and he and I, we connect on a lot of different levels. He's really smart, and he's really talented. He's an artist, but he's also very practical, and he's a businessman. And I think he would describe me as like, he'd say I'm motivated. I think he would say that I'm smart, but he would also kind of say like, sometimes I do the dumbest stuff. And what I mean by that, and maybe what he means by that, would be, there've just been times where I'm like, I think I'm being logical on something, but it's being so only from my perspective on the issue. And when let me give you a good example. I bought a motorcycle the other day,
Oh, cool.
and every single component on it had been gone through and replaced and all this other stuff. And I was like, what a great bike, I can't wait to ride this thing, blah, 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 blah. So I get to my first traffic light and the bike won't go into neutral. Like it went to gate. And I was like, that's a little weird. But I was like, oh well, I'll buy it anyway and we'll figure this out later. So I had to ride the whole way home with my hand on the clutch at every light because I couldn't pop the gear into neutral. And so we were talking about the whole thing. It was like, wait, so you bought a bike that on paper everything had been replaced, but in reality you couldn't get the bike into neutral. And I'm like, yeah. So I think that probably captures the ambitiousness of it. Like, let's get this motorcycle, but also like, hey, maybe you want to find one that works in neutral. So.
That's all.
Yeah, that would be a good little snapshot of that kind of an inner dynamic. But, I don't know, I guess I feel like I'm really there for my friends. I care about them. I mean, I care about people in general, so
Yeah.
I try to share, I try to be giving, but I also try not to get too wrapped up in, the pleasure stuff. Like, I always want to maintain that I have a mission and I need to get work done. So I
Yeah.
try not to let myself go too much, like even during the holidays, people just sitting around in their pajamas watching TV, like, I can do that for an hour or so, but then I've got to run home and do some work, or
Yeah.
a couple hours and do some work. Like, I'm not going to just completely, I guess I just can't completely let go. There's stuff to be done.
You mentioned that you obviously work with Steve, and you've got a website together called Guitar TV. How did you get involved with that, and what's it like working with Steve? And can you give more details on your site, sort of what it's about?
Oh yeah, absolutely. Well, first let me say Steve is one of the true legends on the guitar
Yeah.
He is amazing.
and in the composing world of our time. And so to work with him and to interface with him on a professional level and also be a friend is
Yeah.
just really inspiring and really exciting for me. I met Steve through, it's a hard chain to trace exactly, but put it this way, when I was 16 years old, I went to see Steve Vai perform.
Yeah.
I had never heard of him before. But after seeing that concert, I was like transformed
Yeah.
and transfixed. I was just like, what did I just see? How is it even possible to play guitar like that?
Yeah. Yeah.
He was a showman. He was funny. He was, just a wild monster. I was like, this is awesome. So, yeah, there's no question that was like a higher level of performing than anything that I had ever seen before.
Yeah.
So after that moment, I was like, all right, I'm aligned with this guy in terms of his music and his output. I don't know. There's a really interesting coincidences. for example, this guy that I used to play blues guitar with in Pittsburgh, he became Steve Vai's opening act in 2007. And I was in a hotel room on a different tour. I think that was the tour we were opening up on the Roots tour.
Yeah.
Something was going on there. And I saw that he was going to be opening up the show. So I emailed this kid. His name is Zach.
Yeah.
And I emailed him and I said, hey, congratulations. It sounds like awesome. Congrats. And he wrote back and he said, hey. I said, yeah. So he's like, oh, let's hang sometime. I'm like, yeah, absolutely. And you know what? After his tour and after my tour, we hung out and had a blast. We were playing all kinds of music.
Yeah.
We were having fun. We were joking around. We were giving the neighbors a hard time. So we had a nice, strong friendship. And then we became buddies and roommates even. So long story short, so when we were roommates, we wound up skateboarding downtown one day.
Yeah.
And we ran into Steve Vai's wife at this like Italian festival. I don't know what it was some kind of like food eating, drinking kind of festival.
Yeah.
And so we wound up hanging out with her, and long story short, she had some kind of computer problem that I wound up helping her with. It was like a marketing slash blogging slash computer thing, and I was like, hey, I'm really good with that stuff, maybe we can tackle it. And so as it turned out, I was good with it. She got the thing done, and after a while, like I started working with her on some projects, and she told Steve about me, and I told Steve about an idea I had for his brand,
Yeah.
for Steve Vai, the musician. And so we wound up kind of talking, and then long story short, one day Steve called me and said, look, I have this idea called Guitar TV. It's a 24-hour online, station, basically, like a television station, where you can only watch guitar videos, and you get all kinds of cool content.
Yeah.
Would you be interested in doing it? And I was like, oh my gosh, yeah, it sounds amazing. Like, so we started working on that. Like, it was just like in its early stages. And right at that same time, his online marketing director left.
Yeah.
So he was like, you know what? Do you think you can handle this? Would you like to be a part of this? And I was like, yeah, absolutely. He's like, all right, cool. So I was filling both the role of his online marketing director position and starting this new company, Guitar TV, with him. So it was like, we really got to be friends fast because there was a lot of work to get done and we had to plan a lot of stuff. So it was just really cool. And it all came about from like, just these random seemingly random connections, but it always had to do with the guitar.
Yeah.
And it always had to do with like, what's next, in terms of the evolution of music or the evolution of guitar, the evolution of technology. Like, there was definitely a component of that. So
Yeah.
it became really cool to interface with him.
Fantastic.
That's awesome.
And I learned a lot. I'd say like almost everything I know and how I think of business in general
Yeah.
has come from that foundation, because he's really a good businessman. He understands the ins and outs of definitely the show business, but also how to work with other people who have other creative ideas and to get things done. He's really good with that. So
Yeah. It's
I can
just
definitely credit
incredible.
him for a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah.